Welcome to the Newsworthy. All the day's news in less than 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. Today, what to expect as week 2 of the government shutdown begins, and why the new year means new pay raises for millions of Americans, plus NASA's historic mission and fast facts about Times Square's New Year's celebration. Those stories and more in less than 10 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. Today is Monday, December 31st. You ready? Let's do this. As expected, the government shutdown will continue into the new year, and one Republican senator says negotiations are getting nowhere. He told CBS News the shutdown could, quote, last a long, long time. The shutdown is now in its second week, and remember, the main thing causing the standoff is funding for a U.S.-Mexico border wall. President Trump says it has to be in any spending bill that crosses his desk before he'll sign it and end the shutdown. In fact, on Friday, he even threatened to shut down the U.S. border with Mexico altogether if he doesn't get what he wants. But Democrats still say it's not going to happen. And really, the Washington Post says it's not even clear if Trump could actually shut down the border legally. Either way, Trump and Democrats are blaming each other. And now we're hearing more from the hundreds of thousands of government workers who either are forced to work without pay or are furloughed, meaning unpaid leave. Some say they're concerned about paying their bills. ABC News breaks it down. Thousands of people working without pay include some federal law enforcement and correctional officers, U.S. Forest Service firefighters, TSA employees, and more. Those on unpaid leave include some staff at NASA, the National Park Service, and departments like Transportation and House and Urban Development, the IRS, and more. One national zoo and more than a dozen museums will close Wednesday if the shutdown has not ended. And not only that, but The Hill reports President Trump also issued an executive order to freeze federal workers' pay throughout 2019. Trump has said the budget just can't sustain those pay raises. But some lawmakers from both parties and the workers' union are not happy about this, saying they should not balance the budget on the backs of federal workers. As for the shutdown, it's the third one now of 2018 and the longest one of the year. So will it become the longest shutdown ever? CBS News says the longest shutdown in history was 21 days long, and it happened back in the 90s. Stay tuned. President Trump says negotiators are in fact getting somewhere when it comes to trade talks with China. Trump tweeted he and China's president talked over the phone and have made, quote, big progress. But the Wall Street Journal talked to experts who say that may be a bit of an overstatement. Talks are supposed to wrap up by March 1st, because if not, March 2nd is the day more tariffs on Chinese goods are set to go into effect, which the Journal says could have a big impact on things like electronics, furniture, and more, not to mention China's economy and global stock markets. But again, talks are underway, and a U.S. team is set to go to China next week. A suspected cyber attack hit several major newspapers this weekend, including the LA Times, Chicago Tribune, and New York Daily News. Time reports the computer virus hit newspapers connected to Tribune Publishing. The company says it impacted delivery deadlines and sometimes the ability to finalize printed newspapers. But here's the good news. Apparently, the website, the mobile apps, and any personal info of subscribers were not compromised. Wells Fargo is about to pay $575 million. It's a settlement meant to resolve claims from all 50 states in the U.S. and Washington, D.C. that the bank created fake accounts and took part in other customer abuses, like improper auto and life insurance. Wells Fargo also agreed to start a new program to review and respond to any new customer complaints. In fact, it's not the first settlement for the scandal that went public in 2015. And still, Reuters reports there are more investigations and legal battles the company has to deal with. Millions of Americans are about to get a pay raise because with the new year, a new minimum wage takes effect in 21 states and Washington, D.C. USA Today says the pay increases are happening for two reasons. One, voter mandates and policies meant to help lower income workers. Or two, smaller, regularly scheduled cost of living adjustments. Many cities and counties have also pushed for new minimum wages. Right now, the federal minimum wage is $7.25, and that number hasn't moved in nearly a decade. So states like California and New York are working toward $15 an hour. Colorado, Arizona, and Missouri, for example, are taking steps toward $12 an hour. Although keep in mind, each state has something different, and the minimum requirements within that state may be different for large and small companies. Right after you ring in the new year, a NASA spacecraft is expected to make history. The New Horizons spacecraft will take pictures of the farthest object ever visited, the most distant flyby ever. New Horizons will capture images of a mysterious space rock that's 4 billion miles from the sun. New Horizons is actually the same spacecraft that took eye-opening pictures of Pluto in 2015. This trip, it'll travel to an area where scientists believe there are leftovers from the solar system's early days. While the flyby is planned for tomorrow, on New Year's Day, The Verge says it'll actually take some time for the new images to be sent back to Earth. But we can expect to see some of them later this week. More than 1 million people are expected in Times Square tonight to celebrate the new year. The New York Times says some people even wear diapers so they don't lose their spot in line. And everyone there will be covered in 3,000 pounds of confetti, released 20 seconds before midnight, so it falls on the crowd at just the right time. The report says all of the confetti is recycled, biodegradable material. Rolling Stone reports the ball that's dropped at midnight weighs nearly 12,000 pounds and is covered in more than 2,600 Waterford crystal triangles. Also this year, ABC News says the ball drop is dedicated to protecting press freedom and celebrating the importance of journalism. So how can you watch from a distance tonight? On TV, several channels will have the celebrations. Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest is on ABC, and Christina Aguilera is headlining. NBC has Carson Daly, Chrissy Teigen, and Leslie Jones hosting, with performers like Kelly Clarkson and John Legend. Steve Harvey will host on Fox with performances from Sting, Florence and the Machine, and more. If you don't have a TV, don't worry. You can stream it online at timessquarenyc.org or livestream.com/2019. And that's it for today and for all of 2018. Thank you so much for listening throughout the year and joining me again in 2019. We are taking one day off tomorrow for the New Year's Day holiday, and we'll be back with a new episode on Wednesday, plus a lot of exciting new things coming up in the new year. I hope you enjoy your New Year's celebration, and as always, if you want to read more about any of the news stories we talked about in this episode, just find the show notes by going to the homepage of thenewsworthy.com. From there, click episodes and find today's date. I'll be back with more news by 4 a.m. on Wednesday. Have a great day and Happy New Year.